So last time we were talking about Young's modulus, what is longitudinal stress, what is longitudinal strain. Now during that time when we studied about the basic idea of elasticity, I said this that a substance, how we will understand that what is its elastic properties and how do we define elasticity. We said that elasticity is that property by virtue of which any body will resist when I try to change its size or shape by applying an external force. So this resistance which comes from within the body, that is elasticity. And similarly, when I define stress, I said that stress is not the external applied force by area, rather it is how much reactionary force is developed within the body as an action or as a result of this external force, that divided by area was said to be stress. So similarly on that aspect, so I am going to provide this example to you, and it is often asked in give reason that steel is more elastic than rubber. Is it true? And if it is true, justify. From our common everyday experience, we would say no, rubber is more elastic, because when we apply force on rubber, it expands and it comes back to its original shape. But if I take anything of steel, say a steel utensil or a steel spoon, and I apply force on it, then first of all, 99% of the times we cannot produce any expansion or contraction in its length. And even if we produce, we generally do not see that it comes back to its original length. So is this statement true? Well, it is true. Indeed, steel is more elastic than rubber, because we said that elasticity means how much you can resist any change in your size or shape. Steel, in order to produce any kind of deformation in it, we need to apply on it a great or big amount of force, a huge amount of force. That means that the reactionary force which is generated within the material made of steel is so high that unless we produce or apply a very big amount of force on it, there is no noticeable change in its length. So basically that means steel has this ability to produce a greater reactionary force and resist any change for a greater duration of time, up to a bigger magnitude of force. So steel is more elastic than rubber. So let us take this example. Suppose I have a steel wire here, say this is a steel wire, and here I have a rubber wire. The rubber wire is, say for example, dotted, and this is the steel wire. Both have got the initial length to be the same. This is the initial length. Now on both I apply a force F which is equal to say, okay, let it remain just F. So on both I apply a force F in the downward direction, and say it is being held at the top by a fixed support. The initial lengths are L, their force on which we are applying on them, that force for both of these wires is the same, and their initial area of cross section, is also the same, A. Now as a result of the application of force, what will happen? If this is a steel wire and this is the rubber wire, so as a result of application, the steel wire will increase in length by a small amount, say let that be Ls. Similarly, the rubber wire will increase in length by a small amount, let that be L rubber. And what is the Young's modulus of steel? Young's modulus of steel, let that be Ys, and Young's modulus of rubber be Yr, because Young's modulus is different. Young's modulus is ratio of longitudinal stress to longitudinal strain. So obviously the steel, it has got a better or higher magnitude of reactionary force to resist any change in its length. So its Young's modulus will obviously be different from that of rubber. So what is the Young's modulus of steel? That is equal to force we are applying on steel divided by area divided by strain, which is Ls by L. That is basically F by A, L by Ls. And Young's modulus of rubber is equal to the same force on same area but different expansion by the same length. So that will be FL by ALR. So if we do a ratio, then Young's modulus of steel by Young's modulus of rubber is equal to LR by LS. Now it is known to us that Young's modulus of steel is bigger than Young's modulus of rubber. So which means therefore that LR is greater than LS, which means the expansion that has taken place in the rubber wire is greater than the expansion that has taken place in steel wire when both of them were initially of the same length and area, that is had the same dimensions, and when on both of them the same amount of external force was applied. So it is more difficult to produce a unit extension in steel as compared to rubber. So steel is more elastic than rubber. Another question that is often asked is that between strain and stress, which one is more fundamental? So this is another question which is often asked, that we define Young's modulus as stress by strain, longitudinal stress by longitudinal strain. Now which one is more fundamental? Like the chicken and egg problem. So did the egg come before the chicken or the chicken came before the egg? Similarly, does stress happen and therefore strain happen, or is it because strain happens that as a result of which stress happens? So the answer, though it may seem like this, and also it is not clearly written in the book, I guess, it may seem like this, that because stress is taking place as a result of which strain is happening, and then the ratio gives us the modulus, but actually strain is more fundamental. When we take any wear and we apply a force on that wear, what we are trying to do first is we are trying to increase or decrease the length of the wear. So the moment we try to do that, a strain is generated within the wear. Once again, strain is not what we are doing by applying our force. Strain is what is generated within the wear as a result of our expansion. So when we are trying to expand or contract the wear by applying the force, the change in length that is taking place, that gives rise to a strain within the wear, and that strain is the cause, the effect of which is the stress. The strain gives rise to the stress. The strain is like a trigger which says that, okay, my length has been changed, there is like some external force trying to do this. Now you need to develop a normal reactionary force in order to counter this external force, and that is when stress comes into play. So again, strain is the cause and stress is the result. Strain directs stress to say that here now our reactionary force is necessary in order to counterbalance the external force that is taking place or being applied. Next, what we will do is the bulk modulus of elasticity. So suppose I have a cubical box like this, and I take this cubical box and place it way deep below a river or a sea, as if near the river bed or near the sea bed. So there is a huge column of water above it, and you know this, that water, as height increases, the pressure also increases. The pressure is something like HOG. So we will not go into that exact formula right now. So what is happening is that this cube which I have placed inside water is experiencing a pressure. It is experiencing a pressure on all the surface. There are also the other 4 surfaces which I couldn't draw here. So it is experiencing this pressure from all the surfaces when it is at a certain depth below a liquid. From underneath also it is experiencing a pressure. Now, if this pressure is such that it can cause a change in the volume of the cube, say the initial volume of the cube is V, and because of this pressure getting applied from all sides, the cube becomes slightly smaller in volume, and there is a change in volume delta V. Or in other words, when the cube was initially placed in water, its volume was V initial, and after the pressure is being applied on it and it has decreased in volume, its volume is V final. In that case, the change in volume is V final minus V initial. So in this case, what is bulk modulus of elasticity? The bulk modulus of elasticity is equal to whatever pressure is being applied on it divided by the change in volume by original volume with a negative sign. This is known as bulk modulus. So let me just explain everything once again. As you know here that this force divided by area is the pressure, so there is no problem with this pressure part. In the Young's modulus, for the Young's modulus on the numerator what we wrote was longitudinal stress. Here what we are writing, this one is known as normal stress. Why do we call it normal stress? Because this force is acting normally to the surface per unit area, and since force per unit area, hence pressure, and since normal or perpendicular to surface, hence normal stress. And what is this delta V by capital V? This one is known as volume strain. So in Young's modulus it was longitudinal strain, whatever the change in length has occurred. Here it is volume strain, whatever the change in volume has occurred. And therefore bulk modulus is defined as that when the strain is small, the ratio of the normal stress to the volume strain for a material is known as the bulk modulus of that material. The last question that you might have is that why the negative sign here? Well, the negative sign here is in order to ensure that bulk modulus always have a positive value. So like if we apply pressure on the cube, if we increase the pressure, so if the pressure is positive, what is going to happen is the volume is going to decrease. So V final is going to be smaller than V initial, which means delta V will be less than 0, it will become negative. So negative and then another negative sign means this whole strain below will also be positive and bulk modulus will be positive. Similarly, if we decrease the pressure, what is going to happen? Decrease the pressure with minus of P. Final pressure is smaller than initial pressure, hence decrease. And in that case, what will happen to the volume? Final volume will be greater than initial, the body will expand. So in that case, delta V will be positive. So positive times a negative quantity means again negative, and they get cancelled to once again give a positive value of bulk modulus. So just to ensure that bulk modulus always remains positive, we have used this negative sign here. And what will be the unit of bulk modulus? Once again, this is volume by volume, so same dimension gets cancelled, remains pressure, unit is Pascal, so bulk modulus will also have the unit of Pascal in this case. And now we will do what is known as the modulus of rigidity, which comes from shearing stress and shearing strain. So suppose you take something like this. Say I have taken a block like this. You could also, for your practical example, think of a book, a very thick book, and then say the lower end of this block or the book is fixed, it cannot move. and I apply a force at this point on the upper surface, and what happens is the upper surface moves forward like this. So the solid line here shows the initial position of the block, and then the lower end of the block remaining fixed, I apply a force on the upper end, and what happens is it slides forward like this. The lower end still remaining fixed and it slides forward like this. There is a angular displacement from its original orientation by theta. So if originally this end of the block was at 0 degrees, now it is inclined at theta degrees. So in this case, the shearing stress, this process is basically called shearing, where a substance whose lower end is fixed or one end is fixed and we are applying a force on it, it moves like this as if it is sliding. So that shearing stress is defined as force divided by area. Whatever force we are applying divided by area. And the shearing strain, that is defined as tan of theta, that is this angle, tan, this is theta, tan of theta. So if I take this triangle ABC, in this triangle tan theta is equal to AB, this is the perpendicular, divided by AC. So this is shearing strain, tan of theta. And in that case, the modulus of rigidity, it has the symbol eta, is equal to shearing stress divided by shearing strain. Now again, tan theta is AB by AC, which has the same dimensions. So once again, eta has the unit of Newton per meter square or Pascal. And sometimes when theta is small, if theta is small, then we can write tan theta to be almost equal to theta. In that case, eta becomes force divided by area times theta. This is the approximation when the angular displacement is small. Otherwise, we will write tan theta. So this is the third type of modulus of rigidity. So first, when we studied Hooke's law, we just named it as modulus of elasticity. And under that, for three different cases, we found three different moduluses. When change was taking place only along one dimension, we told it Young's modulus. When change was taking place along the entire volume of the body, that is basically the three dimensions, we said it as bulk modulus. And when no change in dimension is taking place, but a change in the angular parameters of the body are taking place, like this kind of sliding motion, we are saying it to be shearing stress, and the corresponding modulus to be the modulus of rigidity.